Okay guys, I have looked at a lot of videos on YouTube on people making the wire wrapped hose clamp. I think that's a good way of wording it. But and I agree with a lot of them. The regular hose clamps on some hoses just will not tighten enough, or even if you tighten the heck out of it, it still won't seal off. And it's not really that unusual using wire to wrap around a hose for a hose clamp. Here, I'll show you a picture up here. This is one that was out in the that they use pretty frequent in the Asian countries like Japan and stuff on the 80s and the 70s, some of the 70s and early 80s, as this was their hose clamp that came manufactured from cars that was put together. I know Nissan have them because I used to work on Nissan, the 240Zs and some of those, and the other one too, the Nissan, which was called Datsun then. But anyhow, and like I said, I've looked at a lot of tools that they make, and a lot of them are pretty nice. But I'm trying to combine what I see in several of them into one. Now, if I had a piece of all thread, it would be better because I need the all thread to be this length. But I don't have a piece of all thread, and I don't really want to go put any more into this than I have to. So I'm going to do it the cheap way. Somebody, if they're watching this video, I'd suggest go get some all thread. That's going to be this size. I don't know what size this is. It matters what size coupling you get. But anyhow, you know there's a right and a left thread. But here's the plan. Here's the plan. I need a piece of threaded down at the far end, because the wing nut, which is going to go down in there like that, needs to be down here close. That way you're not wasting a lot of wire to be able to make your wrap, instead of pulling your wire way up here, which would have been, you know, short like that. To make your wrap, you're wasting a lot of wire. But if you got it down here close, then you waste less wire. But in order to do that, I need more threads coming on out the end here. Okay? So my plan is to cut this off here, this eye part, and I got this piece of rod right here that I'm going to send down through there, and I'm going to weld it at the joints at the end, join them together. That way I don't need any threads at the top. My threads need to be at the bottom. Now the next thing I'm going to do also on this is to I'm going to grind these threads off right here just a little bit around there, where it will just slide in the bottom, not thread in the bottom, just slide in the bottom. That way the bottom helps to anchor this bolt from trying to flop right and left as it's pulling that wire. And then we also got to take the nut. This is another thing that's got to be done. The nut's got to be ground down a little bit on each side here for it to fit in between here. See, it's not fitting in there. It's butting up in there, but it's not fitting in there. And saying all that, after that, I think we'll have a tool and we'll try it out. And I'm kind of excited about this because I've never had one of these. I like making stuff anyhow. And I just feel like it's really going to work. We will bubble test some hoses that has, one of them has butane in it, and the other one's going to have air, because I got two hoses that are leaking right now. And one of them I had double hose clamp, because that's what you had to do in the past, is double hose clamp it to try to stop the leak. And this leak's not stopping on one of these. It's the one with a butane. But we're going to make a wire wrapped hose clamp for it, and one also for the airline for the compressor. And we will water bubble test it, soap test it, and see how it's doing. So let me go ahead and grind. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, I think I did show it, but this will fit in through the threaded section. Now I'm leaving this wing nut on here. One thing, because I can't get it out off that side there, and if I get it off, it may be hard to get back on. But now I need to weld these two together, and I got to get them lined up, and that's going to be the whole difficulty part on me. That's why it would be good if you'd go get, you know, if you're going to make one, get a piece of all thread that's long enough to do your job. Instead of me going and buying some, I'm going to tack weld this on there. You may not even have a welder, but that's what this is what I'm going to be doing. And but it would be easier to get a piece of all thread. Of course, when you buy all thread, it's got to come like 2 or 3 foot long. Then you got a lot extra all thread laying around. And but anyhow, that's what I'm fixing to do, is weld this on there. Oh, and I'm going to put a piece of tape over the threaded part here, because I don't want any little weld dingleberries or anything landing on it. I always use tape or cooking oil. Cooking oil will stop the dingleberries from landing on there too, on the threads or anything that you don't want. I'm just going to put it right at the edge here. To try to get it as straight as I can. Okay, what I've done is I took painter's tape and I wrapped both ends. This is the threaded end and this is the rod, but it helps to balance it out in here where I got something pushing against it for me to weld it. And I don't know if the wraps are the same, but they're 2 different sizes. But with the tape on there, it takes up space to help squeeze against it where it's in there pretty good. But then take something that you trust is a straight edge and put on top and just kind of check it out. Get down close to it, look for a gap underneath. If there's a gap underneath, just kind of lift it up, just careful, or tap it. And then you're ready to weld. Okay, I ground it down, as you can see right here, and it looks pretty trued up. I'm just looking at it, but it would have been easier just go get a piece of all thread, and I don't know what the all thread would cost, maybe $5, $6, $7, I'm not sure. I think this is 3/8 or half. Maybe half or 5/16, I'm not sure. But I like piddling and welding anyhow, so that's just me. So now we got to go to the right hand. You know, it's a left hand. It's got an L there and an R here. And screw this into place. And I'm not through. This is just, got another step to go. Now I got to put the nut, which I ground a little bit on each side here for it to fit in between here. And these have got to be facing up like that. Well, I had it fitting. There it goes. Okay. Now I'll screw this all the way down. Okay. On the threaded side, where this is going to screw in, you actually need to remove those threads. Even with an all thread, if you use an all thread to go all the way through, you still need to remove those threads for this to slide. It's got to be able to slide for this to work right. And you'll see in the end what I'm talking about. Because you don't want it to grip up here. You don't want it really, you don't want any threads up there. Okay, here's where I'm at. I had to re-weld this here because I didn't bevel my pieces before I welded it, and when I ground it, I ground most of my weld off. So I straightened that out, I beveled it like I was supposed to have done, I re-welded it, I resurfaced it, and it's in there, okay? And it would have been a lot easier to get a piece of all thread. If I make another one, I might make a version of the bigger one. One a little bit bigger than this. And I'm going to get a piece of all thread to build it. But everything's in there. This is sliding. Now, I had to go back in there and regrind some of the edge off. There's got to be enough of this edge down here to fit up in this bottom hole and not thread in. Now, this is the left-handed thread that came with this. Here's the L, R, and the R side we ground out a little. I mean, we drilled out a little bit. Okay, and then the L here is the left-handed thread. I needed to screw it up about halfway in there. You probably can't see it. It's about halfway in there, and then I'm going to weld it right here and then cut it off and then put a slit in it. But you could just use JB Weld or maybe super glue or something to where it doesn't move. You don't want this part to move. This is the part that's going to go against the wire. But now this will go down in there, and you want it to go in there pretty good to where it turns.
The next morning.
This is a hose that goes to my butane bottle for a forge burner here, and the brass piece here is just a little smaller than the hose inner diameter. Not much, but a little bit. Enough that you'd think a hose clamp would tighten it up. So I tried 2 hose clamps to tighten it up, and they got it snugger, but it's not quite there. And I've done this method before in other leakage, hoses leaking and stuff. And normally what you do is you put 2 clamps and you put the part that tightens them on opposite sides. Don't line them up, put them on opposite sides. And but sometimes that don't always help. Sometimes it does, but a lot of times it don't. But I'm wanting to try the wire thing, and also turn the bottle on and bubble test this and check it. Of all the videos I've seen of people making these little devices, and I finally got this one done, and I'll go over it with you here in a minute, everything I had to do and the troubles I had and the accomplishment and everything. But I've never seen anybody actually bubble test with water and soap to see how it is. So that's my intention, so let's get started. I got to get these out of the way. All right, this is just a mechanical maintenance wire here, and anyhow, here we go. I was going to try to add to that, and I can't think of what else to add to it. I don't think this is off of a wire welder, or it would say a lot more information about wire welding. I probably bought this a long time ago and just forgot I had it until I discovered it. I'm just cutting off a length of wire, and I'm going around this twice. I'm going to go around twice and then tighten it up on here. And for this demonstration, I'm going to just guess it some. I normally could just measure it, and I will in the future. Really looks like I didn't allow myself enough wire. and I really didn't. I got to cut it again. I won't cut you off and come back to it. Okay, what I did is I cut some more wire, and then I made me a pattern here. I usually mess with 3/8 hose a lot, and this length here times 2 is what this wire is. This times 2, going around and coming back, is the length of this wire. And I've got it wrapped. I've pulled the extra wire, the leftover, up and over the wire nut, on top of the wire nut instead of underneath, because that way it lines up better with the point down here. And then twisted it at the top. And I'm turning it up here. This is some stiff wire. I don't know if this wire is going to be too stiff for this or not. I've got it lined up pretty good down there, I believe. Well, run out of thread here. It's climbing on up through here. Okay, I have reached the end of my thread. So what I'm going to do is back this off and re-wrap this. So it's slowly tightening that up. I might could have got away with some thinner wire. See, I've pulled out that much slack so far. See how much thread I've used up? So I'm screwing it back down, get that wing nut to the bottom again. Okay. Let's do this again. I'm going on the top of the wing nut. Yeah, this is some stiff wire. Top of the wire nut, wrapping it around, and then going over the back of the tool and twisting it. Sad thing is the hose clamp I done been done. But like I said, sometimes hose clamps don't work. And this is probably what you got to resort to, even in this case. Okay, I'm going to start turning. I can feel it tightening up now. I don't want to get too much tension on it. I'm going to have to try to see if I can swing this over the top. Yeah, it's going over the top. You can see it binding down on it real good. I got to flip this away. There it is. I got to go get some cutters and cut that loose. Hold on. there it is. Now I may twist these two here. I've seen some people twist them, so. It's on there. I mean, that sucker is on there. Okay, I turned on my gas bottle, but it probably got air in the lines now since I purged it. So I'm going to open this. I can hear it coming out. I can almost see it coming out. So I'm turning it back off. Let them fumes. Let me turn the fan on. Okay, this line is filled with gas right now, and well, we're gonna bubble test it. Yeah, what's wrong with me? I was gonna fix to put flame to it. Okay, I see leakage down here on the brass piece, but not on the hose. This brass piece right here is leaking. Where these two join, that nut. But the hose is definitely tight. I am impressed. I am really impressed. I need to pull this out and put more Teflon tape on it. But the hose, I am really impressed with that. Yeah, that's that brass piece here leaking. The hose is not leaking. I am really impressed with that. Let me go turn the bottle off. That was butane, for a butane burner, as you can see right here. But anyhow, the tool. This tool here, I tried to make it a little different than everybody else. I guess that's what everybody else is doing too. But you have to drill out. This is a coupling, right and the left side threaded. And you got to drill out this side just a little bit. You don't want these threads up here to work. You actually don't want these threads down here to work either. And I added on a little piece of a nut that I ground down. I tack welded it in there. It doesn't look very good, but tack welded it in there to keep this from sliding back. Now down on this end, the bolt here, the threads down there, I ground surface those threads down about 1/4 of an inch on this piece here. I can't take it apart because I've already welded this here on there where it stays, and because you want it to stick up in that hole and turn with no threads catching. The only threads you want to work is these right here that holds this nut. That's the only threads you want. And I could have went and got a piece of all thread and made my job a lot easier, but I like challenges. This bolt down here, this is the left-handed bolt that came with this, that had the hook on it. Actually this hook. And I cut it, I screwed it in there, and I cut a little notch in it right here for the wire. And then I was going to tack weld this on there. Come to find out, this is not metal, which I checked it later with the magnet and found out it was not magnetized. So I ended up having to, the welder just blew out a piece of it here and just about destroyed the end. So I ended up using JB Weld and JB welding that in there, and then I kind of ground down the JB Weld a little bit. And then I just added this this pattern here that I can use for the next one. This length times 2. And I may could check on some thinner wire. I don't know, but this wire definitely did the job. I am really pleased with that. All them foam things is from the leakage in here, which I'll have to take up and put. I have to remove that nut, and it's leaking down here on this one too. And put more packing in there, Teflon tape or something. But yeah, guys, get out there and make you something. Just tinker with things. You'll come across challenges, and then when you overcome the challenge, that's when it really feels good, and you'll have something you can use for life, or somebody else may want to buy it from you. Who knows? And but yeah, go out there and find you something to work on, and leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.
Viewing the video, or giving us a like, or subscribing, makes us want to bring on a little more entertainment. Don't you agree?